Welcome back to Stop the Movie, I Want to Get Out, the podcast about some of the most notoriously bad Hollywood has ever churned out, and why we love to talk about them so much and how they went so hilariously wrong. I'm Alex Dunbar, joined today by Jack Estabrook, Cody Wolf,
Hello.
Brian Muir.
Yeah.
Andy Wolf is off this week. He had to organize his Big Jim action figure collection at home. He'll be back next week.
Takes a lot of time.
It does. It does. When you have a collection like his, it takes a whole Sunday. This week we have it's sort of a modern classic, I guess you'd say. One Missed Call. This is legendary. If you're a fan of bad movies, you probably know this. It is a 0% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. One of few modern films to earn the honor of having 0%. No critic gave it a positive review.
And I didn't think it deserved 0% until the last 20 minutes. That's when it was like...
Yeah, that surprised me. At some point I was like, wow, this is pretty bad. I mean, it's really bad, actually. But I was like, is this 0%? And then...
And then it was, oh my God.
Then
that's where it really earned
nuts.
its stripes.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah. Let's get right into the mess that is One Missed Call. Who wants to start us off with this movie? Because I was wildly confused all movie. If someone else
So
wants
was I, because, I mean, it starts with this fire. There's this hospital called St. Luke's, and it burns down, and there's this little girl inside. She's the lone survivor, and then they don't...
She's not the lone survivor.
But let's talk about it. Before we get into this...
There's only 5 people.
Was it a hospital? Because it looked like a church.
It did at first, but then there's emergency signs like all over. They had all these
It looked like an insane asylum.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
But
it was like an asylum of some sort.
But it was
a
asylum?
hospital.
Okay. It looked okay.
They later established that it was a hospital.
Well, and because at one point a firefighter walks by the screen and very loudly says, St. Luke's Hospital, but
Yeah.
So you knew it was a hospital. But my thing with this was I didn't know that this took place. I thought this took place some point in the past.
Yeah, it looked like something from 1920.
Like,
Yes.
10, 20, 30
Well, except
years
for the
ago.
radio.
This
We
could have
were
been this could have
1960.
been this could have been the 70s,
That's
and
what
then
I
it
thought.
jumps to modern
70s
time.
or 80s, and I thought like that little girl would be an adult now or something.
I was more than an hour into watching it. I still thought that opening scene was a flashback.
So did I.
Until
Absolutely, because one of the characters is a blonde girl. So
Yeah.
you're thinking, oh, maybe this is her as an adult.
Yeah,
I think
a
that
flashback.
movie
It's
may have set
exactly
the
what I
record
thought.
for the quickest explosion ever.
Yes.
Like, it was like 3 seconds in the movie. Explosion!
Bam. Well, they wanted to draw you in. They figured, well, we got to get an explosion.
This
in there.
movie's only going downhill, so let's wow with an explosion at the 3-second
That's right.
mark.
So then we got a girl who's sitting outside this beautiful like pond, this landscaped backyard on a patio.
It looked like a house in Japan.
Yeah, it did, and she loses her cat, so she immediately starts looking for the cat underwater.
Well, first she's talking on the phone to someone saying like she references like the phone call or something, saying she's never scared of something. I don't know. But then her cat is meowing and she's trying to find the cat, and for some reason she thinks it's underwater.
She has like a koi pond in her backyard.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was
it's a big koi
But then
pond,
of course she puts her face really close to the water, which
Kitty, are you in there?
which is never a good idea in a horror film, is to put your face that close to water.
Well, yeah, I mean, really,
Especially
generally
in a
in a horror
Japanese
movie,
remake.
just in life, don't put your face that close to anything.
Something bad's gonna happen.
things are going to happen to you.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this monster's hand grabs her by the face and drags her down into the water, and then all of a sudden the cat shows up, and it grabs the cat too.
Yeah, that
Come
was
on, really?
unnecessary.
Did the cat?
I mean,
get a,
I'm not
did
a
the cat get a
huge-
voicemail too?
Yeah, because this goes against the gimmick of the film, which we'll get into in a minute.
Right. Well, we'll kind of get into this. The theory of the film is that your phone gets your cell phone registers you have a missed call, and you get a voicemail, and you hear your own voice.
It's a
at the
voicemail
time
from the
of your
future,
death.
and the date and time of the message is supposedly the date and time of your death, which gets into one of my big complaints about the movie is that it seems like it's two other horror movies glued together.
Right.
Yeah. And based on the rules in the movie, you have to own the cell phone that your death message comes into.
Well, yeah. And you don't have to own it.
And it's like a chain. It's someone in your contacts. It's like the next adjacent person in your contacts gets the next message.
At the end of this first scene, when the girl and the cat are both dragged in the water, it shows the girl's cell phone sitting on the table, and it's like it's scrolling through the contacts.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is that it like goes through the contacts.
So
seemingly at random, and yes, these are random phone calls. I mean, this is completely random.
By this movie's rules, apparently the cat has a cell phone and was called.
of course.
Meow. Yeah, I don't.
The cat's listening to its last meows before it dies.
Can we
Here's a dog barking, and it's like, its eyes get wide.
Can we then talk about the great montage that comes up? That this movie came out. I think this is a 2007 or
2008.
2008.
It was 07, 08. Yeah.
A montage comes up with the clear point of just trying to explain to us, hey, cell phones are popular. It's people.
Yeah.
I'm talking on my cell phone.
this
I'm
movie-
walking. I'm talking.
Everyone's got one.
It's like
yeah,
that
where have
movie
you been?
Cellular. Remember that one with Chris Evans where when cell phones were starting to become like really high tech?
Yeah.
But that was like 03, and it's like they're like, oh, in 08, like, hey, people can do things with cell phones.
People have cell phones now. They're a big. It was like, it's 2008. We know everyone has. My mom had a cell phone in 2008. Yeah.
Plus, everyone in the film has the same exact cell phone too.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they all have.
They're
They're all on the same.
crappy
They're on
cell
the same
phones.
family plan.
And they're all cell phones from like 2001.
Right.
These
Yeah,
are
they're
like
all
the
flip-
oldest
they're bulky-
cell
like
phones.
They're
blocky,
bulky,
yeah.
blocky flip phones. That even.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the Razor. At least, I mean, the
Yeah, the
smartphones
Razor,
weren't in yet.
Blackberries were out, I think.
But there were Blackberries,
The iPhone, I
and they
think,
had
was
the
out by
flip
that
phones.
point.
They're iPhones.
iPhone in 08, really?
These
Yeah,
are-
yeah, you're right.
iPhone
Yeah,
came out like 06
it was.
or 07, yeah.
These
So
are really old.
but
These are
everyone has
like,
the same, like
everyone has that like one step up from the Zach Morris phone cell phone.
Yeah.
Like everyone's using it.
yeah.
It's like a crank radio from World War II. You got to crank it and talk
Yeah.
into it.
So then we move forward to the world's most confusing party. I
Yeah,
still.
what was happening there?
I
It was
don't-
like a Cinco
There was
de
a
Mayo
there was a party,
party,
and a dude was chopping celery and complaining about some girl that he broke up with.
Who are these people?
And then
Yeah, were they
another girl.
Were they college students?
Then
Or they-
another
know.
then another
they
girl
were
shows up,
oh,
a
yeah.
blonde girl,
I think.
and has a
I
conversation
think they
with
were.
our hero. And apparently, she's just been to this funeral. So she's at a party, and she says, "Hey, how you doing? How was the funeral?" Is what she asks her.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a funeral. It's like what?
But
So
who are these? But here's my question: and this is my question at the end of the scene. This is actually my question at the end of the movie. Who are these people?
Yeah, I think they
Exactly.
invited
It's
the
never
people
made
over too
clear
early.
who
They're
they
like
are.
chopping celery and
It's like, yeah, they're
making the
preparing-
food while everyone's already there partying.
Partying, yeah.
What are their relationships to each other? I have
Exactly.
no idea.
Yeah.
I still have no idea.
I just know there were like red pepper lights draped across the place, and it was some sort of Mexican themed.
There
It was
was
some kind
but-
of
The
party.
movie takes place in June though, so it wasn't Cinco de Mayo.
Which I would, and they're talking
good
about
point.
like one of these guys. Like the whole hinge of this scene is one of these guys likes these other girl. There's these names
Yeah,
being
he
thrown
just
out.
broke
Like,
up
oh,
with one girl.
you
who's
broke
at
up with
the
Jenny,
party.
but
Tony
you-
just
Yeah.
broke up with Sally, but
And
Sally
he's
likes
hitting on the
somebody
other
else.
girl,
and this is going on, and I've been knowing. I'm like, who are? I don't even know who they're
Are these
talking about.
are these people brother and sister? Because there's obviously nothing between the girl and the guy. The
And
girl
spoiler
who,
alert: this scene would go nowhere the rest of the film.
Oh,
it would have no
you
bearing on
spoiled it for
anything.
them, Brian. I'm sorry, folks at home.
All those relationships they spent 30 seconds building up just didn't matter.
It was.
Well, you don't know if these are brother and sister talking, and then this girl shows up to the party, the blonde girl who I can presume, like Cody, I thought was maybe this little girl from the beginning of the movie grown up. And I thought this girl was going to be our hero because she was kind of, she was sad and mopey, yet she shows up to a party anyway. And her friend asks her, how was the funeral? So presumably the girl who was killed at the beginning of the movie,
Yeah, she went to her funeral.
it was at her. She was just coming back from that girl's funeral.
Right,
Now, we didn't
right.
know that girl's name. They don't show us that they're friends with that girl. So she's just like, oh, yeah, I just came back from
Oh, she
Jennifer's
was at
funeral.
that. She was. At,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
she was at that.
Yeah.
Oh, my
See,
God.
Alex is just discovering this now. It took a lot of brain power just to figure that connection.
This is the stupidest yet most confusing movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like the movie is completely stupid, but like the whole time there's no entrance into this movie. Like at no point are you ever like, okay, I understand at least where I am or who these people are.
Well, and
no
by the way,
entrance.
that girl, the blonde girl, who, by the way, looks like what I wrote down here is a manly Drew Barrymore.
But Drew Barrymore,
She
like
does. She
a
does.
more manly version.
Yeah,
of Drew
more
Barrymore.
manly Drew Barrymore.
She's like a homeless
She-
man's Drew Barrymore. Yeah.
She's the girl who the guy who was talking to the other girl in the beginning just a minute ago broke up with. But there's never anything between
Yes.
them.
Yeah, they never do it.
I love how you just described
There's
that.
no.
I love that.
See, these characters are so hollow. That's exactly
there-
right.
There's never any interaction between them or any
And they
mention
never-
of it ever again.
Yeah, and they never interact.
Right.
They never. The guy.
They don't even share a scene together.
No,
We
yeah.
should explain. Yeah, the guy whose whole entrance into the movie is that he's
I thought
obsessed. That he's obsessed with this blonde girl, really wants to be dating her, and like that. This is kind of his whole like character build. Never
Right.
has
That's
a
what I'm
scene.
saying.
They're
by the
never
way-
even on camera
And
together.
by the way, I know we already spoiled this one earlier. This blonde girl is not the little blonde girl from the beginning of the movie, which we all thought took place in the 70s
No,
or
that
whatever.
would've-
But we already established that.
Made too much
But
sense.
just to drive it into your head, they show us this blonde girl rescued from this fire. It dissolves. Modern time, girl gets killed. Then there's a party. Adult blonde girl shows up to the party and says she was just at a funeral. So you think this might be that girl, but
it's
it
not.
isn't.
But it's
Right.
not. So about this time, they ham-fistedly introduce Ed Burns, who's boy,
Yes!
boy, what a career slide he is on. I didn't realize he was in this.
I didn't know who he was.
Actually, that was the biggest scare I had in this movie. I jumped back when I said Burns. I was like, what happened to this guy?
Well, in this, he's the detective, I'm assuming.
He's the detective.
Well, before that was the first scene where she gets the phone call.
Well, she gets a phone call. The blonde girl gets a phone
Before
call.
Edward Burns.
Yeah,
She answers the phone, one missed call.
Well,
What?
no,
That's tomorrow.
Yeah, she comes to the party, goes upstairs with the other girl, and she's telling her, like, oh, I got this phone call, and it's from blah, blah.
And it's right.
And that's sort of...
And it's some creepy ringtone that isn't her ringtone.
They listen to the phone call, and basically it's her last words, and then like a train goes off, and then and then that's the end of the phone call. So now she's scared.
She's all scared.
She's starting to get freaked out.
And then it goes to this random scene with the detective, and
now the detective...
There's no... With him, what bugged me about him is there's no exposition. There's no... it's like he has this one line where he's arresting someone or something, and then it's like... Oh, your sister is at the morgue. You should go see her.
Yeah,
and he's like some other cop just comes up and it's like you have no connection to.
He's emotionally detached.
Hey, by the way, your sister's at the morgue.
Like,
your sister's dead. She's a corpse at the morgue.
Oh,
you finally found my sister who's been missing for weeks. Okay, I'm gonna go check it out. And yep, it's my sister. Okay. Back to the case. I'm a hard cop with my shirt unbuttoned and my raspy, sexy voice.
And he had that cool cop necklace thing. I never have actually seen a cop wear that in real life, but in the movies, they always have the necklace badge.
You have to, yeah.
All of the cops in this movie do. All of the cops, including the cop who was Asian, who was named Lee.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get...
played by Margaret Cho.
Well, this was based on a Japanese movie.
Yeah, we're going to get into Margaret Cho, who, in limited screen time... Well, we'll get into her later. Yeah. We'll get into Margaret Cho
little
later.
bit of a self-commentary.
So, the blonde character, Leanne, is now seeing weird things. Like, she's just walking... And what's weird is
like zombies
she's walking down the street, like, seeing zombies... Seemingly totally unfreaked out by this, by the way.
Now, again, this helped play into
I kind of liked. Like, at this point, I was like, this movie could go somewhere interesting. With the visions or the hallucinations she's having.
Now, again,
there was some cool stuff there.
What I was thinking was, this girl is remembering the sights she saw in the asylum years ago before it burned down. Maybe these are the people who died in the fire chasing her. Again, we already spoiled it for you. This is not what's going on.
Yeah, that would actually be a better movie. That's not what's happening in this movie. She's just seeing things. There actually are kind of creepy images.
It's not badly done. You get the creepy woman with the mouths for eyes. There's another guy who I called the Hugh Beaumont zombie. It looks kind of like he's dressed like a 60s businessman with a haircut, but then when he turns his face, he's hideous and got pits in his eyes.
Yeah.
But no one ever really reacts to this stuff. Like, they're just seeing it like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Like...
Well, remind me not to get Chinese on Fifth Street again.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reaction. And at this point, I don't know what happened in this movie. I'm just guessing that something in the editing of this film went really weird. Because the movie, it's only 87 minutes long.
Which feels like it's 3 hours long.
And it does feel long.
It did. I tweeted this film as my inaugural tweet, and I made so many comments that you would think it was a longer movie.
It felt like
3 hours. And 87 minutes is about as short
as a full
as you can have. I mean, as a studio, you're not going to release a film that's much less than... And that's 87 minutes with credits. I have a feeling at some point, somebody watched this and was like, oh, God, this is direct. Just cut all the scares together and get the rest out. Because scenes just start, like, cutting together. There's a scene... Shannyn Sossamon...
It jumps a lot. She sees the monsters. She calls her friend. She's scared.
Well, wait. Before that, though, there's
her friend who's the lead, the hero. I forget the character's name.
Shannyn Sossamon. I just call her Shannyn. I don't know. I just was like, oh, there's Shannyn Sossamon.
She's okay.
And Shannyn Sossamon and the blonde girl have this conversation outside class. Because the blonde girl...
Oh, that's right. There's a scene in class. She sees these things, and then doesn't she...
Oh, right,
she's seen, like...
She sees, like, centipedes.
She's seen, like,
centipedes crawling all over the place. I forgot
zombies, like, all over, and, like... So, like, there's a scene outside the class where Shannyn Sossamon basically comes up to her and is like, hey... You were looking at me kind of weird. They're in class, and her friend's like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. I'll talk to you later." And Shannyn Sossamon's like, "Oh, okay, all right." And like 10 seconds later, she's calling her on the phone. It's like, wait, why are these two scenes? Why are
glued together? Exactly.
Yeah, why are these two?
I'll talk to you.
Hey, sorry, I was a little weird, Lane.
You know what? It's really weird. I'll call you later. Boom! It's later.
Yeah, it's later. I'm talking to you on the phone. Yeah, there's no like. Was there something in the middle there? Like, why?
There might have been something that got cut out.
It's a pocket
dimension in the space-time continuum collapsed and connected those two moments in history.
Yeah, I mean,
so she's scared now. she's seeing more
scared
visions.
now.
She's walking towards the train tracks because we heard a train on her mysterious
Yeah,
message.
when you hear a train as the
Stay
place
away
where you're
from
going to
it.
die, why would you head towards the train?
Now, here's what I said
Yeah.
before. The film seems like two movies glued together. I'm going to let you in on what the first film is. This is a lot like Final Destination, right,
Yeah.
guys?
But only for like 2 kills though.
Exactly.
Yes.
The rest are like.
And it becomes like the ring.
Yeah.
And then it becomes The Ring, which is the other movie.
Yeah. The first.
It can't decide which movie it wants
They
to
should
rip
have
off.
called it the Final Ring.
Yeah.
That would be a more accurate title.
Or the
Yeah.
Ring
actually.
That's basically
Destination.
what it is. Yeah. That is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And you see some more of this like creepy imagery, like dead people going by in a bun. Still, nobody's freaked out by
And she's
it.
like smoking too. Like before everyone dies, they like start like having vapors trailing.
Oh,
them.
yeah.
Oh
It was
yeah,
like a
yeah.
weird,
They get
like-
surrounded by
I'm not
this.
sure
They get surrounded by
why.
this glowy mist. They start
Yeah.
glittering like the vampires
Yeah.
in Twilight.
which is
Like
never.
I don't know if
really-
it's like the ghost's view.
Yeah,
or if
that's
it's
what I
like-
was confused.
What is that?
It
I
shows the creepy vision, then it shows her walking down the train tracks on the phone. I'm really scared. Come pick me up. I'm on such and such and such and such. And she keeps walking. Like I'm on Smith and Vine, and she keeps walking. And then they show the creepy zombies, and I was confused. Is that what the zombie is seeing? Is it going to sneak up behind her and kill her, much like the hand came out of the water and killed the girl at the beginning of the movie?
Right.
As again, I'm thinking, maybe she's a survivor of that fire, and the ghosts of those who died in the fire are coming to kill them.
Right.
No, you were thinking too much.
Yeah.
Also,
That would have been a good movie.
they also start implying pretty early on in this movie that Shannyn Sossamon's character has some kind of haunted past.
Right.
She's having flashbacks.
She has trouble every time
she keeps-
someone knocks on the door.
She keeps having
She-
flashbacks to
she's
looking
scared
through
of
looking through a
Peepholes.
peephole in a
Yeah.
door. She keeps flashing
Yeah.
back to that.
Which is really annoying because even like the most nonchalant knocks on the door become like a huge
Right,
ordeal. Like,
very
she like
dramatic.
stares at the door,
They
and, like
waste
her
film
heart
time
starts
on it.
pounding.
And
Yep.
what was all of that for? It was for nothing. I mean,
Right, it didn't- yeah.
it was a.
It went nowhere.
At the
Yeah,
end,
we'll get to that
we won't
later.
spoil it.
We
But
won't
at
spoil
the,
it,
at
but
the
it's-
end of the
it
movie,
still
at the end of
didn't-
the movie, they explain it, but it
It
has
still
no
didn't-
bearing on
it
the
has
plot.
No,
It had no bearing. It had no.
Yeah.
You could have
Didn't
cut
matter.
all of that out. You could have cut.
I have a
all
similar
of-
thing every time I have to open the window. It's like, oh, it's hot in here. Oh, the window.
I think it was just because they knew the running time was so short. They just wanted to let's just drag out anytime she enters the door. So that
All right, normally it would take
two.
2 seconds to open the door. Let's make it 10
we
seconds.
can
We
get
get this
to
movie from
87
84
minutes.
to 87
because there was
minutes.
no point to it. Yeah. So anyway,
Seriously,
the-
dead serious.
Whoa.
They do tell you why, and it has no bearing on the plot
Right.
whatsoever.
none at all. So the blonde girl was killed. Like,
And she gets killed by the train. Her friend
How did
sees
she
this
die?
happen.
She's walking up.
She got hit by a train.
Yeah,
No,
the
she went below. She started walking the train track.
No, she was
but
on
why,
top. There was like
why
an
did
overpass.
She like fell
Oh,
off,
okay.
but I don't get why she
Oh,
fell.
It was like the
fell.
thing. Yeah, she like the
I
railing
remember
crumbled
now.
or something.
but
And she fell off.
this is when I actually hence the name of this podcast. This is when I had to stop the movie right when she died. And I'm like, what is going? I'm like, why are they not showing me? Oh, the movie's PG-13.
Yep.
And I'm like, that explains a lot. They can't actually show anyone dying because we're a
Right.
PG-13 movie.
But that girl's so stupid because she heard what she was gonna say right before she died and was like, I just feel like every time I turn around and then she falls.
Pow.
Of course, she's walking above a train. She's like, I feel like every time I turn around and then she
Whoa,
falls
and then she gets hit by a train. Yep.
Yeah.
If I hear like the last thing I say before I die, like, boy, I could sure use another Pepsi to drink, I'm gonna make sure I don't say that. Like, why would you
You order a
say
Coke.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like walking by a bunch of like knives in the kitchen. Boy, I could sure use another Pepsi drink. I think I know how I'm gonna go.
And what's funny, it's never, for all the things that are talked about among the characters in the movie who are all hearing their final words before they die, no one ever talks about, oh boy, I should put myself in like the safest environment possible.
Like they
Yeah,
tried,
I'm not gonna go
like
anywhere.
they did
I'm
in
not gonna
Final,
say anything.
like they did in Final Destination. Except Final Destination was a little creative in the fact that they couldn't control it. Eventually, something would go wrong and they die anyway.
Right.
No, these people are just like they had
It
like
just
their
makes you wish
script
you were
written out
watching
for them
Final
for how they're-
Destination, and that's actually pretty bad for
Yeah.
a movie to make you want to watch Final Destination.
Yeah.
The first one was good.
No, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
So
It was creative. It was.
Well, I
fun.
think that's the whole thing with this one because I think, if I'm remembering, Final Destination and The Ring, they don't really have premonitions of their deaths. With this, you have a premonition of your death. So, like
Right.
Brian said,
you
why
actually
not?
know that.
Why not just? Yeah, you know the
You
exact
know the
time.
date,
So why not play with that?
time,
Yeah, try
and
to
what
avoid
you're
it.
saying.
So just
no one ever talks
Sitting
about
in-
that
yeah,
in this
sit in
movie.
an empty room.
Yeah.
I mean, but
I'd lock myself in a bank vault or
Yeah,
something.
pretty much.
You know, like, it's so stupid. Or at least you'd think, like, well, someone's going to talk about that. Like,
Right.
This is going to get a little, like, meta, and someone's going to be
yeah.
like, oh, you know, we've got to, hey, wait a second.
Yeah.
No, that's not gonna happen.
So anyway, so the blonde girl dies. We cut back to a wake,
Well,
another confusing wake.
first we
right?
should say when she dies, a hard candy comes out of her mouth,
Which I thought was a marble.
It looks like a marble.
At first I thought it was going to be
unappetizing candy.
Because in the scene where the cop is looking at his sister's body, instead of collapsing and crying and being all overly emotional, there's no coroner in the room. He immediately opens up her mouth, and I'm thinking, what, is she going to pull a moth out? Just like it's a joke, because I'm thinking Silence of the Lambs. He pulls out this marble, this red marble. So now this girl is dead. She gets hit by the train, and there's a red marble in her mouth, which we later discover is hard candy.
Very hard candy.
We later learn it's totally
hardest
stupid.
candy I've ever seen.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's another pointless plot point in this movie. So the blonde girl dies. We go back to a wake full of these characters. I still don't know who any of these characters are.
I remember this wake scene.
Was that
I think it was
wake?
after the wake.
No, it's after the wake.
It's after the funeral.
It's after the funeral. It's kind of like another. It's kind of like it's an after party for the funeral. They're all at the same house where the Cinco de Mayo, the lame Cinco de Mayo party was, and the dude. There's this one girl with a foreign accent.
Right.
She's talking about, oh my god, but she received a phone call before she died. Yeah. And the dude is like, stop talking about it.
His ex-boy, or her ex.
Oh yeah,
the dead girl's ex-boyfriend was sitting there all like.
Who apparently the scene before was like lusting after her is now telling her to shut her mouth.
There's two things about the scene that are crazy.
That's not gonna work out.
First off, this girl's talking about, like Jack said, like, oh, she said she got this phone call and blah blah blah, and the guy's like, stop talking about it. And first I thought he's getting perturbed. First I thought there was some, because it was his ex-girlfriend and he was feeling sad about her dying, but it was because he had gotten a phone call too.
Do you remember the line?
But the other thing is, when he starts getting upset, the other girl's like, what's his problem? Like, why is he getting upset that we're talking about his dead ex-girlfriend? Like,
and what does she say? Oh, he totally had a thing for her.
Right.
That's all they say. Yeah. It's literally a quote. Oh, he totally had a thing for her.
They lived together and
what?
AKA they were going out for
years. It's not they were good friends, or look, they were like they were so close, or they grew up together. It was just he had a thing for her. And then he storms off in a huff because he's pissed off that they're talking about it.
And he storms off.
The main character chases him down.
Shannyn Sossamon.
And he reveals, I got a phone call too, which is why he's really scared.
And again, really dumb, because his phone call tells him that he's going to be dying in a matter of minutes.
Right.
What does he do? He goes walking out into traffic.
Let's cross the street two different times.
Of course, now they're cheaply playing with you. He keeps crossing the road and crossing back, and crossing the road and crossing back. And much like Final Destination, it keeps cutting to shots of sparks flying, of, people texting in their phones or whatever, of a construction site, of dangerous things about to happen, like hot coffee pots or whatever they're showing.
Hot coffee?
Because they're at a diner, right? They're sitting outside in a diner of some sort.
Oh my god, death by coffee!
It's a major scene there.
And then, so it's
Death
like...
by coffee.
Well, so then, like, all of a sudden, like, again, this movie, I don't know if it was made PG-13 in hindsight or what, but, like, he is impaled, but because it's PG-13... You don't see him get impaled, so it's a very confused. It's actually very confusing to watch.
There's flying debris, and then it shows his face like he's in pain.
And you know what? Didn't they miss a chance? Wasn't there like a pun there, a pun opportunity that they missed? Didn't he say something like?
Oh, he says he says something.
He says something about his head.
When she's like, "Oh, you forgot your phone," so he crosses back across the street, and he says, "Oh, I swear if my head wasn't screwed on."
And then something screws through his chest.
If his head came off, or he was decapitated, that would have.
Or if something went through his head, because the rebar does look kind of like a screw. It could have gone right through his head. His head is screwed.
Now I hate this movie.
Now it went through his chest. The movie is so stupid. They even missed a stupid pun opportunity.
I have a note here. I have a note here at this point. This is, and I had to pause the movie. 21 minutes into this movie, I have a note. I go, oh, the main character's name is Beth. Her name is Beth.
Yeah.
We learned it for the first time. We're 21 minutes into the movie. Shannyn Sossamon's character's name is Beth. Didn't know that before. No, her name is Beth. Good to know.
And it's nice to know these things.
Another confusing thing happens here. When he dies, she hears you later find out it's an inhaler, but she hears the sound of an inhaler.
Yeah.
And she's like looking around all confused. Like apparently she hears this whenever someone dies, and it comes in again later, but it's so
stupid again. You don't even so stupid. Like why they built this stuff up, I have no idea because it's so dumb. I have this in my notes.
It's like they created an ending and then they went back and inserted scenes retroactively to make it fit.
Oh yeah, well,
but maybe didn't do that well.
Or like why they thought that was going to be like I don't know.
Maybe the director thought the asthma inhaler would be more integral to the story, and then last minute changed his mind.
Maybe. Well, now we got to mention she comes because I have her in my notes now. Margaret Cho comes into this movie.
Yes,
as sort of Ed Burns.
She's supposed to be the counter to the Ed Burns counter. She's like another cop who thinks he's crazy.
She's only in this movie for 2 scenes, and she reminded me of Judi Dench in Shakespeare in Love. Because there was a lot of controversy when Judi Dench was nominated for an Oscar for only being in Shakespeare in Love for like all of like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Margaret Cho should go into our Hall of Fame based solely on the two scenes. She is so emotionless in these scenes.
Yeah.
I don't think she had ever seen the script before they actually said roll camera.
Yeah, and you could feel her acting too. It just felt like acting. It was so so wooden and so.
And I was looking forward to her. Like, I actually think Margaret Cho's stand-up is funny.
I totally did not even know she was in the movie. I didn't recognize her until her last scene. I was like, is that Margaret Cho?
It's Margaret.
Never
Her
mind,
stand-up.
never gonna see her again.
Stand-up is really funny. I actually was like, well, God, maybe she's gonna breathe some life into this, and she
comic relief character, maybe,
or something. Oh,
she's like a serious cop character, and she's like a foil.
Yeah, for a comedian, for this to be
character.
like your first movie role, to be like a serious like cop.
Yeah, she goes right to our Hall of Fame immediately, like right in the first scene. I'm like, she just first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah. So again, we're like a half hour into the movie at this point. I still don't know who anyone is or what they're doing. I guess Shannyn Sossamon's a college student.
Yeah, like
question mark?
Well, they were in class earlier. She was in the class with the blonde girl earlier, so that was already established.
But
she doesn't. I mean, Shannyn Sossamon looks like she's like in her early 30s.
Yeah.
Maybe it's community college. She's going back to learn
to
some new schools.
Yeah, she's starting a new profession.
Okay, and then we also learned like
some people need to make a change in their lives. Maybe it wasn't working out.
Well, I mean, we also learned like 30 minutes into this movie that the girl with the foreign accent and Shannyn Sossamon are roommates.
Apparently, yeah.
All of a sudden, they're roommates. Yes.
She walks downstairs and she's like sitting in a chair, all creepy.
And this has got to be a housemate because this is a massive freaking house that they live in.
Have they been roommates all movie? Like,
we did not see this girl until 20 minutes in. At the same time, we learned this girl's name, almost as if this were the opening scene and they swapped it and put it in the middle.
Yeah. It makes no sense.
Coming up is probably my stop the movie moment and my favorite moment in the whole movie, but we'll give it some time.
Yeah.
She comes down the stairs to see her foreign language friend is creeped out. Her phone is rung. She's afraid to answer it because it could be her death. So they decide, well, okay, fine. Because they're beginning to figure out people who receive phone calls die because it's happened twice so far, and the blonde girl claimed that somehow she kind of knew that it happened to the first girl, which wasn't really the first girl because Ed Burns' sister was actually the first girl, and how that dead girl connects to these other girls. Don't even try. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So she says, okay, well, let's try to cancel the phone account. So they go to some random D-bag at a phone kiosk in the middle of the street.
Well, no.
Right?
No, first they turn the phone. They take.
Oh, that's right. They turn the phone off, take the batteries out.
They take the batteries out of the phones because the girl's afraid she's going to get a phone call. And so Beth says, oh, well, if we take the batteries out, we can't get any phone calls. So she takes the batteries out and puts the phones on the couch or whatever. And then
it rings anyway.
They go to sleep, and then in the middle of the night they hear the ringing, which is this creepy, ringtone that's not actually any of the ringtones. So they come downstairs and they figure out which one it is, and then they go the next day to try to cancel the phone. Like that's going to help anything.
Yeah, cancel the phone account. We don't want it anymore. Just waste the minutes. But if we waste the minutes, we'll find out we're going to die. So then she tries to tell her friend, if this message can kill me, and she says, you know what? I'll delete the message. Give me your phone. I'll delete the message. She deletes the message. Then some dude starts picking on her. And she says, all right, tough guy, you delete the message too. Okay, I will. He takes the phone from the first girl and deletes a message that was already deleted. She hands the phone to her friend. I'm creeped out. Please delete this phone message. All right, fine. If you're so scared, I'll delete the message for you. She deletes the message. Message deleted. Now, she does not receive another creepy phone call. In the meantime, the messages are clear. And another guy says, I'll delete it for you too. Okay, fine, you delete it. And then all of a sudden, there's like 13 people. They all pass the phone around and they each delete the message. How is that possible?
Well, I think they're saying that however the ghost technology is, that the message stays on there until you hear.
They never said that.
They never established that though.
It was just here. You delete it too.
That was my stop the movie moment. I actually thought it was funny, but that's
then
the movie moment.
Then they smash the phone like that's going to do anything.
The first of many phone smashing.
Yeah, they throw it on the ground.
There's
they both
a lot
stomp
of phone
on it.
smashing in this movie.
Yeah, and including a phone fish tanking scene.
There's a lot. Well, and about this time, the Shannyn Sossamon character teams up with Ed Burns in a comical way where, they had briefly met at a police station where Ed Burns was like, oh, I'm the cop who doesn't take everything at face value. Maybe there is something to this girl's story. So he comes over to her house to say basically nothing. He's like, I'm looking into this. I think they may be linked. okay, I got to go back out of my investigation.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
she's like,
clearly was making a
nothing.
move on
He
her.
actually had nothing to say to her. And then she's like, I'm coming with you. He's like, no way. And I want to be like,
And then she
well,
just walks
obviously-
to his car. And
well,
goes,
you're like,
Because in these
obviously-
movies,
yeah, like
in these
he had-
movies, the civilian always just goes along with the
That's
cop.
one of my pet
Yeah.
peeves in movies is when cops are like, okay, come along on this
Well, they didn't
investigation.
even set up, like, he didn't even have anything to say to her. It was
Right.
like, as soon as he walked in the door, I'm like, oh, great, they're teaming up now.
Yep.
What was? I don't even understand what Edward Burns. Like, I know he was a cop, but like, what was his job? Because like the police chief was telling him like not to investigate this
Right.
case.
And he's like, I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
going to do it anyway.
And he's like, well, I'm just.
Are we
gonna
forgetting
get
here?
in my
Are we
car
forgetting
and
here the
drive around."
televangelist that wants to exercise the
yeah.
phone?
He's kind of coming in at this point. Yeah.
They get approached by this guy in a business suit.
Played by
He's
Ray
supposedly-
Wise. Who's
Yeah.
actually
Yes, it's
a
Ray
really-
Wise.
Who's actually a really good actor.
It is Ray Wise, and he shows up and he's wearing this slick suit. And he's like, "I want to put you on my television show
He's your typical
to drive out the
TV
demons."
producer
And he's
in
the
the movie.
stereotypical sleazy TV producer. And the girl agrees, and the other girl is like, our hero Beth tells the French girl or whatever, "Don't do this. This is ridiculous." And he's totally like, "No, this will be great. We can drive the demons out of your cell phone." So she agrees to do this television program. Simultaneously, right, the girl's with the cop while she's
yeah.
she's
Well, yeah,
taping
this
the
is
episode.
kind of all, yeah.
They're looking,
But,
Yeah.
yeah, so then, yeah, the cop and Beth go to, they find out, like, I don't even
they
remember.
find out
I don't
the
even know.
source.
Somehow-
They found out the source of the first phone call
They
through
found-
phone records is this woman who lives in an apartment.
Yeah,
So then they go
Ed
to the
Burns just sort
apartment
of
to
like
investigate.
offhandedly is like, oh, by the way, I solved all
Which,
of
thank
this.
God, they didn't go into detail with it because I would have hated to have heard how
nothing
that
else.
happened.
I think it had
There's,
something to do
there's a
with...
great line here where, you know, they show up. Ed Burns and Shannyn Sossamon show up at this
Yeah,
apartment.
this was
This was amazing. To which point Ed Burns is like, I get it. Like Ed Burns hasn't followed any rules at any point in this movie. They're standing.
I'm not sure he's employed by the police department. I don't know.
I don't know if he's a real cop.
I think he's like one of those like
He's-
honorary cops they give a paper
well, like,
badge
He
to.
bought that badge
Everything-
necklace at a costume shop.
Because if you think about it, everything he was doing was vaguely rapey anyway. I'm not really sure he was legit as a cop. But so they show up. They're standing outside this apartment, and Ed Burns is like, and he's just looking at the door. He's like,
And he says,
"This is like," he's like, "Oh, the door! What a surprise! The door's locked."
Well, I
"I
guess
can't
we're
get in
out
on
of
a cop."
Well,
And
does.
she
He
says,
goes,
"I'm not a cop."
No, he goes, all right, I'll have to go get the super. To which Shannyn Sossamon goes, that could take hours. How is that going to take hours?
Really, it's a very big building.
I know, like, where,
He's all the way up on the 90th floor.
He's napping.
no time to get a guy who like lives like 2 floors down.
Well, maybe it's Cleveland from Lady in the Water, and he's too busy
that's-
trying to find the scrunts.
That's true. That's true. You might as well. But I'm like, oh my god, that's the reason why you're gonna break in. No time to get the
It's
super.
going to take hours to find the super.
Take hours.
So then he stands.
Well, so anyway, they
Then he
break.
stands idly by
Jack's
and
trying to-
allows her to break into this apartment, break the law.
No,
Basically,
but then she doesn't even know how to
Yeah,
break
he gives
in.
her like
So
a
he's like,
credit
okay,
card.
I'll do it.
he says, "I can't break in. You know, it's a cop. You can't do it." And she's like, "Well, I'm not a cop." So then he gives her the means to break in.
But then she doesn't even do it. She doesn't even know how to do it. So then he's like, well, I'll just. It was so. The whole logic of it was.
Yeah, what made her think that she could break into a apartment with a credit card? Like, I wouldn't know what to do if someone had me a credit card and did that thing. People make that look so easy. Have you ever
It's
actually
pretty
tried
easy.
to do that?
Oh, it's
I've
pretty
actually-
easy. It's
for
pretty
the-
easy.
for-
If
for-
there's-
for-
If there's a deadbolt, you can't do it, but on
For the
regular
for
life.
the
Really?
for those
Yeah.
people
I
at
need to
home,
learn how to do that, 'cause that looks
I
awesome.
did do this once. It was my own apartment. I locked myself out, and I thank God I had a card that was just worthless. It was like a fuel rewards point card or something, but something like a credit card. And I was able to get in.
Really?
But the
Yeah.
card did not survive. The card was mangled.
you-
So if you
the-
used your credit card would become unusable.
Yeah, if you've ever done it for it, the card will not survive.
Next week, we'll teach you how to break into a car.
Yeah, I need
Yeah.
to learn how to use this because
Yeah,
I
it
feel like
does
that could be
work.
like
Children
a really
at home,
impressive
please don't
thing.
do this.
It has to be an old lock. Like it has to be old
Alright.
and not well
So
installed.
anyways,
Yeah, but anyway.
break into the apartment.
So basically, the rule is when your civilian partner can't break into a house, you just do it
yeah,
yourself.
just do it.
Well, so they go through his apartment. They basically learn nothing.
This scene,
Is there any
everything
point
they
to the
learned,
scene?
everything they learned in the scene
They
confused me
learn-
even more. Because they learned that
Confusion alert.
the woman doesn't live there.
Yeah, she doesn't.
They learned
They
that no
learned that
one's
her-
been there for weeks
Yeah, because there's like
by way of
food and stuff
rats
over.
running.
Why
Apparently,
was-
when you're not in your apartment for 2 weeks, rats move
Didn't we
in.
get
Yeah.
Why
more?
was
Didn't
this
we
fine?
get? Didn't we get more centipedes at this point or no?
Yeah, there
were
like,
centipedes
well,
in a
that's
jar.
what happens is in this scene, they go into this little girl's room, and you see all this stuff that the people have been hallucinating about. She has like a jar of centipedes.
And for some reason, a creepy
has
toy
those weird toys.
with mouth for eyes.
Right, and just some other stuff. And then, of course, there's a scare where Beth is looking at something, and all of a sudden, like, there's this loud inhaler sound.
God, yeah.
It was like the worst
And then she
scare
jumps.
ever in a movie.
She jumps, she turns, and then the
ever-
cop is just, and then Ed Burns is just holding on to it.
Yeah.
It's an asthma inhaler.
If you've ever heard an inhaler, I mean, this is the loudest. It's
like
not
a
even,
foghorn.
Well, it's not even like the inhaler's in your ear. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It was.
I guess the two things they find the CD of or a DVD of a recording of like a nanny cam.
And they find it
in the
inside.
shower,
Yeah. They reach into a
bedroom.
teddy bear
No,
and
it's
pull
not
out.
a paper. She finds it in the
Jack,
living room.
don't
No,
give that away.
that's much later.
Oh, I'm
That's
sorry.
way
God.
later.
Get out of the room for 5 minutes and come back when you're ready to
I have to
go.
go to timeout now,
Yeah.
folks.
We're gonna have to start making Jack take
I'm
notes.
sorry.
I'm going to give you a missed
He's always
call.
jumping ahead.
They do
I need a
find
smartphone. I can access my Twitter.
They
My notes
find
are on Twitter.
they find a nanny cam disc like in the living room wherever she finds it, and she watches
And-
it, and it's the little blonde girl, I think, from the hospital in the beginning, right?
Well, they don't actually
No,
look at the
it-
disc yet. They actually get the disc later on.
No, they get it there, then I think they bring it back to somewhere like the police
Yeah.
station to watch it.
Oh.
But then the
okay.
other main thing they find out is that the mother took one of the children to St. Luke's because she had an asthma
Right,
problem.
right.
You know what?
It's a huge-
We
But
finally
crazy-
get the
crazy
hospital
thing.
is tied into the plot.
Kind
Finally.
of.
But here's the thing: like this whole scene was pointless.
It
There
was
was
absolutely.
nothing. It just added to the confusion.
But they end up going to the.
And then they find out that Edward Burns' sister was the
Was,
one
the
that was
social worker.
treating
Worked at the hospital.
kid.
They're all like
I
loosely.
think it's like a CPS worker or something like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe I can't remember. Either way,
Basically,
Whatever.
you're getting
I
a
mean,
6 degrees
either
of
way,
separation
they
of
go
the
to-
victims, but you don't know who the victims are.
they
so.
they go to the wherever the
Where do they
little
go?
girl's being held, some home or something, and they're trying to figure out where her mother is because they think that her mother is the one.
Well, one scene we should
responsible.
mention before we get to. There's one scene we should mention.
Well, we got to get into the exorcism scenes.
Well, that's
Insane,
coming next.
crazy televised exorcism.
Well, that's
of a
coming next.
cell
That's what I'm
phone.
saying.
Okay.
Because I think they go and they try to find who this girl's mother is or whatever.
They go to the sister's house to check records.
Right, that's what it was. Yeah, they go to sister's house and the TV's on for whatever reason. And this is one of the things I hate in movies when they do this. She looks over the TV, and live on TV is her friend on this show, this American Miracle song.
Her roommate's on like a national television
Right,
show.
yeah.
She's like, "Oh yeah, my roommate's
Well,
on this national television
but
show,
I hate when
getting
they-
her cell phone exercise."
Because that makes
But
sense.
I hate when they do this. There's no reason for this show to be a live show.
Right.
Yeah.
It's being
This would
it's
be.
being broadcast live from a church somewhere. It's not like why would it be a live show?
And everyone in America is watching. Like, it's carried on every channel, everywhere.
This is how you can tell how cheap this movie is. It's clear that the church set for the exorcism is also the set for the hospital. Like, you can tell
Yes,
they
it is.
redressed
Yes,
it. It's
it is.
obviously
It
the
is
same.
because it's
it's
obviously
definitely
redressed.
the same location.
shameless.
It's redressed.
It's pretty
But I
shameless.
hate when they do this in movies, though, when a character sees someone they know live on TV, and then they rush down to the TV studio to
And
try
they're
to
still
stop
there.
something happening.
Yep.
And it's like, again, the show, it wouldn't be a live show.
Yeah, it wouldn't be. Well, and let's before I'm going to cut in here for a second. When this movie was originally being put together in 2006, I'm going to go to Wikipedia here to cite this. A little Wikipedia information. In August 2006, Ed Harris and Gabriel Byrne both signed on to appear in the
What?
film. I have to figure Ed Harris was going to be the Ed Burns part, and Gabriel Byrne
That
was
would've
going
been
to
awesome.
be the Ray Wise part of the TV producer.
That would have been great.
Then they read the scripts.
However, both withdrew due to unknown circumstances.
The unknown circumstances of the script, I think.
I think we know what the unknown circumstances were. The script is stupid.
Yeah. I'm not doing this movie.
Yeah.
What?
Ed Harris saw that scene with Margaret
Ed,
Cho.
Gabriel, Ed, Gabe, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, so
we're not
you
doing
then,
this movie.
you then
No,
basically
please,
get the
we'll pay
poor
anything.
man's version of both of them.
So,
Yeah.
I don't even know if Edward
Are you
Burns
saying
is a
Ray
poor
Wise
man
is the poor
version.
man's Gabriel Byrne? Is that what you're saying right now?
Pretty much
So,
is, yeah.
So they get to the church where this live broadcast is being, broadcast from, and then everything goes crazy, lights flicker, and the foreign language girl gets killed.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is at
This
this
where-
point they've given up on the Final Destination thing.
Yes.
and a ghost just
Yes.
comes up and chokes her.
Consistency error. During
Yeah.
this scene, they're exercising the phone, and then stuff really starts to happen because it's implied that the producers of this show use pyrotechnics to make it look like that they're driving demons out. But then stuff starts going crazy, things start exploding, the lights start
Yeah.
flickering on and off. Girl and Beth and the cop show up to try to put a stop to it. All of a sudden, all this crazy stuff's happening, and there's like a fist or something inside this girl's throat, and you can see it bulging out of her skin, like it's strangling her from the inside. Yeah. And then she dies. Now, the first girl is dragged under... Well, the first victim, truly, we don't know what happened to her. Because that's the cop's sister, who's already dead. Yeah. Second victim is the girl who gets sucked into the water, and her cat gets killed by a mysterious monster hand. Third is Final Destination style. Fourth, with the train. Fourth is Final Destination style with the construction scene. Fifth is this creepy, like, ghost choking thing, and it's no consistency in these death scenes.
Yeah, it just shifts over to the ring, and...
So this girl dies.
Yeah. Okay. And they keep broadcasting the whole thing.
They do. And they do.
Like, did you get that?
Yeah. Did you get the shot? Did you get the shot? And that's the other misconception, is that they would want to show that on TV.
Yeah. So this girl dies, and immediately
time show and someone dies.
Immediately, Beth's phone rings with that creepy ringtone, and she gets the message. And then the rest of the movie, I guess part of the rest of the movie, is her trying to figure out. They're trying to stop this before she dies.
Trying to, and they talk to the other. I don't know. Somehow they.
This is where it gets confused.
I don't even like. We should almost just jump ahead because the movie gets so confusing. I want to talk about my favorite scene in this whole movie, which is Beth has gotten the call. She thinks that she knows when she's going to die, so she's like going to the library trying to research this. And at one point, she's in a cab and she's talking about all this stuff. She's being like, "What if her body's still moving through the phones and they're attacking people through the phones?" And they cut to a shot of the cab driver who's looking at her like she's nuts, and she starts getting embarrassed. Like she sounds like she's nuts.
I mean,
the best. It's like the best moment in the movie. It was.
Ladies and gentlemen, the cab driver is the audience.
Yeah,
he's emphasizing that kind of makes you laugh.
The cab driver's like, "What is going on?"
And another thing too that happens here is, after she gets a call, the detective takes her phone, cracks it in half, and throws it in the fish tank. Yeah. And then, like, the very next scene, he's like, "Oh, here's one of my extra cell phones if you want it." It's like,
everybody has.
Why'd you break her phone if you're going to give her another phone?
It's okay. I brought two.
Yeah, it's like,
and these are bulkier cell phones too. They're not like flat or black.
But why break her phone and then just give her another phone? You know that the phone calls are what's right.
This director hated phones.
Yeah,
every
like, here's
scene,
another
someone's phone was getting broken.
Yeah. And it's in this movie. It's really easy to break a phone. I don't know if you're. I don't think if you try to break a phone,
made of paper mache.
Yeah. So somehow they all linked. I mean, where you could tell this movie is going all along.
One of my notes here too is I'm just bored out of my mind at this point because I don't know what's happening.
I'm so bored, but I'm also so confused.
Yeah.
But you're like, what? At some point, actually, it was a relief to me when they just go, "Okay, we got to get back to the old hospital." Because like a Scooby-Doo mystery, it's like, okay. Because the whole movie, I'm like, well, how does this... clearly, this hospital fits in. Right. Okay. So Shannyn Sossamon, like a genius, all by herself, goes to explore the old hospital.
Which, once again, that hospital looks like it's like hasn't been used since 1920. It burned like a week ago.
I've got some leads to follow. I'm going to go check out the old hospital. Okay, and I'll let you trespass and be part of my investigation. Good luck with that.
This was, too, the first time I realized that the fire didn't take place 20, 30 years ago, that it was literally a month ago.
No, it certainly looked like it did.
Because she's looking, but she's looking at the newspaper articles from it, and it's like,
from like last month.
It was, because this movie takes place in June, and the article's from like May 28th, so it's like 3 weeks ago. But like, and she goes in the hospital.
Goes to the library to look up an article from like 2 weeks ago. Like, I better check the archives for this one.
And that's the thing. Again, this movie's from 2000.
Yeah, it's like there's
no one references the internet anywhere in this movie.
Everyone goes to the library to look things up.
This movie really felt like it was made more in like 2000, maybe, or like it was written in 2000. It
looks like it was made in 95.
Yeah, maybe like
95.
Actually, you're right. This is almost like 98, like 10 years earlier. Yeah, it's very out of touch.
Back like when there was dial-up, and it might actually kind of be quicker to go to the library, maybe.
But like Brian said, that the hospital does look like it's been abandoned for decades.
Centuries.
Everything in this hospital is all old-timey. Like when you look at the set decorating,
it looks like it was from like the 20s.
I was so confused. I still thought it was a church because I'm like, this hospital, everything looks like you're in a church. This was not.
I'm just not buying this as a hospital.
So we get.
Yeah, I didn't. She goes in the hospital. She's looking around.
I didn't buy the hospital character at all. I didn't buy it at all. Did a terrible job.
This church just didn't do its research when it wanted to play a hospital. Clearly.
Yeah.
It goes.
So she starts seeing crazy visions,
including an evil doll holding a cell phone.
That was a baby.
It was like a baby doll.
There was just out of
There
nowhere.
was a baby in a crib with a cell phone.
And it grins at her like
a crazy CGI baby holding his cell phone.
It looked like the Ally McBeal Chumbawamba.
It did. It looked like that baby. What did that have to do with anything? Now that we've all seen the
I
movie, did that have anything to do with
about
anything?
These visions. I don't know why anybody's having any visions because it's like that. That was just a random vision. And
it ties into nothing.
And it has nothing to do with anything.
The only thing that would have made it better is the baby had like broken the cell phone in the crib.
I don't know if the baby had made a call.
Yeah,
like
ordering a pizza.
Baby flipped her off. That's what I was waiting for.
Or if the baby had like been like, oh,
You getting any service in here?
I know, baby like held up the phone trying to get reception.
Can you hear me now?
And there's a great scene with her and Ed Burns.
Oh God, yes.
There's like 20 minutes where she's just like running around the hospital, seeing
Scared,
creepy
yep,
things,
yep.
whatever. So
And
someone
of course,
she
he
just
all
like
of a sudden is there.
she runs into Ed Burns and she's like, she's coming for me. And Ed Burns, a classic Ed Burns reaction was like, okay, let's go. Like, all right, no, no rush, nothing
I
important.
don't know where they were going, but
So
then
somehow,
we swing by the bathroom and then we can get out of here.
like
So,
this is the
Ed
movie.
Burn-
The confusion level, we're already at like a 10 on confusion level.
was
Like
done with
I give up on trying. Or if you really want to understand this movie, also go to the Wikipedia page, which I'm going to give you there's a warning on the Wikipedia page that I've
Warning,
never
this movie
seen
sucks.
before. There's a warning in the plot. It says, warning, this article's plot summary may be too long or excessively detailed. I'm going to say, no, that is not true, because whoever wrote it realized how freaking confusing the movie is, and you almost need the Wikipedia summary to understand what's happening in this movie.
this may be too long.
And it's, because Shannyn Sossamon goes into an air vent by herself.
Yeah, she does.
Her and Ed Burns get separated.
They get
By
separated.
something.
The
door slams on its own.
A door
slams on its own, and there's something creepy in the room.
Her phone rings. It's laying on the floor, and it's got like a countdown to when she's gonna die.
Yes.
Right.
Then the vent like opens. Obviously, the ghost opened the vent. I'm thinking she thinks this ghost is trying to kill her. Why would she go into the vent?
That's
And there's
obviously a
closed
trap.
space.
There's nowhere else to go.
It's obviously a trap.
Yeah. Well, you're
I'd
right.
sit in the
And what does she
corner
do?
and just wait
And
because
what does
I'm
she
not
do?
gonna go into the.
She goes into the vent.
She goes in the vent. So she goes into the vent and finds a corpse. A creepy old...
Holding a cell phone. That's
Clutching a
That's,
cell phone
that is
so deeply, it
unharmed
took
by
her
the fire.
Yeah.
Took her like
Right.
20 minutes to pry this phone out
Even
of
though
this
the
thing's
corpse is like
Charred to a
burned
crisp.
alive, the cell phone looks like it just stepped out of 1998 or whenever
it's
the
still
cell phone
on,
was
yeah.
made.
It's
Yeah,
still
and
on.
it's
The
working.
battery's
And it's
still
making
charged.
calls.
It still gets bars,
And then-
and it's unsinged.
And then the wheels come totally off
Oh,
this
here we
point.
go.
The corpse comes alive?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then tries to make out with her.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly what my
And
note
it has
says
no
too.
lips. It's just teeth.
That's exactly what my note says too. And it doesn't...
It tries to make out with her. This is true, folks.
and
Right
then-
here.
It crawls on top of her.
This
and
is why the movie's rated
then the
PG-13,
next scene is
parents.
Edward Burns comes up, and he has that look like, oh, am I interrupting something here?
Ed Burns is
I'll
like,
just go back down the air vent and leave you two.
Ed Burns is like, whoa, this is weird.
This is freaky. I better get my camera out and
He's
fix
like,
it.
I'm really uncomfortable now.
Are you a necrophile? You didn't tell me that.
So, but
Beth, are you okay? Oh, excuse me, am I interrupting something?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry,
So-
should have knocked.
so she's like, sort of pleading with this ghost, like, well,
gives
tell me why. The ghost like is crying, and then Ed Burns comes up, and the ghost like scurries away.
Ghost is crying.
So
Like skeleton
it does. There's
crying.
like
It
tears.
was. Somehow the
So
tear
then-
ducts on this sucker is still working.
And then it cuts outside. All the cops and stuff are there. They got.
So
him
I
a
guess
blanket.
that
this
was
is like
the corpse of the mother who is somehow
this is the
protecting
ghost,
her by
but we don't know
by
that yet.
trying to
we don't.
make
We
out
still
with
think
her.
she's the ghost
We
trying
still
to kill
may
her.
not know that.
So-
That's a pretty good assumption right there, Brian.
My
Props
point.
for
My
that.
point is that this feels like the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
They
And then
figured it out.
I looked at the running time, and I'm like, oh my god, there's still like 15 minutes left. What the hell? Like, where are we going with this?
Yeah. So very quickly, so they get out. Somehow, like, in one of those, like, very Law and Order-esque moments, Ed Burns, like, figures out, like, unravels the whole mystery by looking at a child's drawing. He's basically like,
And of course,
wait.
a thunderstorm starts at this point too,
And
so
a
you know
thunderstorm
it's
starts.
about to go down.
Yeah,
Yep,
Ed
yep.
Burns is like, oh, wait, that teddy bear that this other kid likes, that teddy bear's a nanny cam. That nanny cam's got a CD in it. The person who's taking care of the kid has a computer that can play the CD from the nanny cam that I just figured out. Let's watch the nanny cam.
So then they go and they gotta get the bear. You gotta get the bear.
The
Get
nanny cam,
Great logic.
the bear
Yeah.
which the little girl's been holding on to.
the little girl who survived the
has-
fire at the beginning of the movie, who we
she's-
thought was the blonde woman.
she's like squeezes the bear and it plays this tune that is the ringtone.
Yeah.
So he's like,
It's all
obviously
coming together.
that has something to do with it. So yeah, he checks the bear and finds an nanny
nanny
cam.
cam.
So
there.
then they watch this surveillance video, which is pretty amazing because as the audience, this surveillance video has
God.
incredible cutaways.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good
Absolutely,
footage. It's
yeah,
like
and
a 3-camera
alternate
shoot.
angles.
There's dynamic camera movements.
Great audio.
Yeah, close-ups.
Yeah.
I
You
think
know,
they mic'd everyone
reversals.
up.
Like
Yeah.
there's like amazing
There's
blocking.
Blocking is phenomenal. I was about to say the blocking in this surveillance is just tip
It's
top.
incredible.
And this scene just made this movie just totally deserving
and
of
it
that.
doesn't make any
0%.
sense because what they're seeing, Ed Burns is supposedly seeing things in the surveillance video that you could only see if you were
Right, from the other
seeing
angle,
it
yeah.
in
the room.
other angles. You couldn't possibly
Right.
see this stuff. It's and getting audio. There's so many things wrong.
Basically,
Yeah.
to go through it because this is the only way you can.
I
start
can't wait to hear this. By the way,
the only way you can begin to understand this movie is this scene. The little blonde girl had a sister who, before they had mentioned, had died. So the sisters in the nanny cam, you can see the sister like cutting the blonde girl with a knife or something, and then the mother comes in and she's like, "What are you doing? Oh my god!" And she's yelling at the girl. Takes the little blonde girl. She's like, "I should have known." Leaves the room and locks the other little girl, who's wearing black, by the way. She's wearing a black hoodie.
Of
so you
course,
know she's
and then
bad.
of course the blonde girl is wearing
So
white.
yeah. So she locks this girl in the room, and she starts having an asthma attack. So she goes to her. She grabs her inhaler and is trying to
And a
use
cell
it.
phone.
Well, she's trying to use the inhaler, and it's there's nothing in it. And then she grabs a cell phone and is like trying to call. I don't know.
But
And she's
so
trying to
confusing.
call the
Who gives a
hospital.
7-year-old kid a cell phone
I
in
don't know.
2008?
I'm assuming she's trying to call the hospital, which is why it started.
Or her
Oh, I think she.
mom,
That's
or
right.
I
I think she's trying to call Ed Burns' sister, who is her
Yeah.
caseworker.
Oh.
And
I know,
then
it's so
Ed Bur-
confusing.
And then
So
Ed Burns'
confusing.
sister hears the
But
death.
she dies.
The bottom line is
I
like,
like
so
the,
it's
I like the line though that the mother gives when the mother says when she's taking the good daughter out of the room. She's like, "It was you all along." Like
Hey,
she was trying
I
to
should've
figure out
known.
who was cutting her little daughter's arms with a butcher knife, and she just figured out it was her.
And she never checked the nanny cam.
I mean,
Yeah, I know. Yeah. What was the point of the nanny cam? She
Who
didn't
was
check.
watching? I mean, so this is the twist in the movie. No, the mom's not the bad one. It's this other little girl. Is the bad. I mean, but the twist, it's so confusing. That this isn't a
It's,
twist. You're just like,
And
you
now
don't even know
all of a
what's
sudden,
going
all
on.
of a sudden, this little girl's ghost starts chasing them. All of a sudden, like, I haven't gotten you yet.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, what? Where was she before? This is
Yeah,
where it
yeah.
gets a
So
lot like
because
The Ring.
Ed, yeah, you're right. Ed Burns tries to call Beth now, who's wearing headphones, so she can't hear the phone ringing. Tries to call her, tell her like, "Oh, it's not over yet. You're
Because of course
still
this
in
is
danger."
the fake scare. The movie's over,
So
but then
he-
there's more.
So he goes running back to her house. She finally, takes the headphones off, sees there's a message, and I can't remember what happens here. I think the ghost the ghost arrives and like.
Well, it's the whole. This is the supposed payoff all throughout the movie when hearing this weird flashback of the Shannyn Sossamon character that
yes.
she's afraid to look through the
Yeah.
peepholes, and because she apparently she saw her father hang himself and she saw it through a peephole.
Yeah.
She
or
was beaten.
something.
She was beaten and abused by her mother as a child, which has no bearing on the rest of the story. It just
Yeah.
gives her some dark backstory, make her damaged, and
Yeah.
then she sees her father hang himself
through a peephole.
through a peephole.
So she
So
can't
the
look through
the
people's.
supposed like payoff.
I
on
didn't
this-
even get
isn't
this.
even- yeah,
I
this
didn't
isn't
even
really
until
a-
you just said it, I didn't make the connection.
This
yeah.
isn't even really a payoff. Is like when the ghost arrives at the house to kill them. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. The ghost rings the doorbell. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. The ghost rings the doorbell. So Ed Burns. This sounds so much more stupid.
This is so
saying it out loud.
ridiculous. Continue.
Yeah.
This is the best part of the movie.
So Ed Burns goes up to the peephole.
Yes,
Beth's like,
it's true.
Beth is like, no, don't look through the people.
You're gonna have to look through the people because I'm too scared to.
Yeah, don't look through the peephole. I have a bad history with them.
Yeah, and what happens?
And then he gets stabbed in the eye through the peephole.
He falls.
It's like, and it's the most like, why
So stupid.
why
I don't
kill
even-
this character at all? Like,
And
it's the last 2 minutes of the movie.
I know why. What was even the point?
So the ghost bursts through the door,
The ghost bursts through the door.
is coming at Beth, she's gonna kill Beth, and then this freaking worst ending I've ever seen in a horror movie happens.
Yeah, because then the ghost
The ghost of the mother,
of the mom comes in.
yeah,
another
fights
ghost
the ghost's daughter.
Who fights? By the way, goes to the mom.
It's more of a battle.
Did not ring the doorbell. Just busted right in.
That's not. Yeah, she's a rude ghost. I'm sorry.
She didn't have any manners.
She just like
psychotic daughter.
Was born in a barn or something. Just
She just like grabs the other ghost from behind, the girl ghost, and then the girl ghost like evaporates and goes into the phone.
Yeah,
and that's it. That's the movie. The credits roll.
Then
doesn't the phone ring? Doesn't the phone ring?
Other
That's the end of the movie.
stupid scene, where the phone rings again. So you're like, well, the mom kind of like gives Shannyn Sossamon like a look, like, you're okay now.
Didn't the mom like? Didn't the mother's ghost like negate it? But no, the ghost went into the cell phone, and it's gonna continue.
And the phone rings again, so you're like,
the ghost isn't dead; it's just back in the phone.
Yeah, if I was Shannyn Sossamon, I'd be like, hello, mom ghost, like. You want to come back and take care of this?
Where were you the rest of the movie when all my friends were dying?
Yeah. Well, I think, and
what made her so
she
special?
did her a favor because they made out with each other. So
I think
there's a history there.
This is a remake of a Japanese horror film, and in Japanese horror film logic, I think they had to find the corpse of the mom before the mom
could release her. Is it like a religious thing?
Yeah,
why?
I don't know.
Just see the spirit.
They did the same thing in The Ring, and in The Ring, it's the same thing. We freed the girl, but she continues to haunt anyway. So there's no point to freeing
why did the
girl,
mother's spirit have a cell phone?
The Ring.
Why did they have a cell? And why did they?
Why did the mother crawl into the vent in the first place?
That's a great question. That
makes sense, yeah.
But the daughter made it out alive, so she just stayed with the daughter.
They didn't find her dead. Like the firefighters didn't comb the building for dead bodies.
They probably figured no one would be dumb enough to crawl into a vent during a fire.
Yeah, that's a great point because that's never made clear in the film why that is going on at all.
Oh my god! But this is just this movie.
This is terrible. And I also, just on a personal note, for the area code they used in this movie is the 508 area code.
It's Massachusetts, right?
That is actually the area code right near where I grew up. That is the area code for Cape Cod.
See, I don't know area codes.
Which they never.
You remember
referenced.
anything like this happening ever? When you were growing up, like people.
It may have been. I don't know. Every time I saw them, I'm like 508. I'm like, are they implying this is happening on Cape Cod? I'm like, what?
They didn't go with the 555.
Never mentioned it. They never mentioned where they were.
Yeah, they never mentioned where they were. Normally, at this point of the podcast, we talk about some good reviews we found of this movie on Rotten Tomatoes. Since this film got a whopping 0% on Rotten Tomatoes,
it's going to be kind of hard.
This is going to be hard. But we this time instead went to IMDb, where there are some pretty positive reviews.
Oh, good.
And I'm going to go to... First, I'm going to talk to...
Oh, we got to do this one.
Yeah. Dave29 from the United Kingdom says, quote, "The best horror remake I've ever seen. Forget all the negative reviews. Watch it now!" All caps. "If you dare. Very frightening. Full of scares from start to finish. Most recent remakes have been poor. But this, I could not blink my eyes. Don't miss this, whatever you will do."
Someone put
I couldn't blink my eyes either.
Orange contraptions where they made his eyes stay open the whole time.
This kid sounds like 12, probably.
There's another one I really like. This other one's great from an adult. It's the only one I'll do. The title of the review is "Chilling to the Bone. You won't see this twice."
Well, the second part's correct.
Yeah, we can all agree with the second part of that review. But this is the guy's review. "The audience all breathed a sigh of relief when the credits rolled at the end."
That is actually correct as well.
Gripping. Yeah, I agree with that.
He's meaning that as a positive?
I think he read too much into that sigh of relief. I think he misinterpreted that.
Yeah.
He says, "I found the storyline somewhat ambiguous."
Somewhat. Okay, it's accurate.
That's fair.
"The scenes are sometimes very David Lynch style."
What David Lynch is he doing?
Yeah, I think it's unintentional David Lynch.
Yeah.
The director hearing that, I was like, "Oh wow."
Yeah.
The ending is left up to your own interpretation.
The movie's left up to your own interpretation.
Yeah. And he said, it basically goes on to say he thought it was really scary. And he said, at the time, it seemed good and scary.
Good and scary, yeah.
That's
good
like
and scary.
Horrible cousin of good and plenty.
When I go into a horror movie, I want to see something good and scary.
Good and scary. Just my kind of movie. That was until everyone went home and my roommate went to sleep. I blame this on hormones, plus it being late.
Wait, what?
I don't... Yeah.
Wait, what?
Whoa, this is starting to sound like a letter to Penthouse here. This is starting to sound like a letter to Penthouse. Okay, children, stop listening right now.
I thought I'd sneak that in there.
Wait, can you read that again? I didn't know.
Yeah, here it goes. That is until everyone went home and my roommate went to sleep. I blame this on hormones, plus it being late.
No!
But
wait, what was the sense before that? I blame that.
No, they're saying at the time. They're saying like at the time they were watching the movie. At the time, it seemed good and scary, just my type of movie. That was until everyone went home and my roommate went to sleep. I blame this on hormones plus it being late. But once I walked into my bedroom, my anxiety skyrocketed. I paced around the apartment for a while before finally giving in to the possibility of some sleep about 2 a.m. Yeah, right. Radio on, door closed, no closet lamp on, and I still couldn't relax enough to get any shut-eye. Wow. Every 15 minutes, my eyes would fly open, and I would peer around the room to get my bearings. This is horrible. I've never lost sleep over a movie, and I've seen it all. All these years, I've never understood people who disliked horror films. But I think this one sleepless, terrified night is all it will take to sympathize forever. See it.
Wow.
I'm going to say I disagree with that review.
That was like strangely erotic.
Yeah. That was
really
bizarre.
Written like very, very first person.
Yeah.
Like, almost like, young adult literature.
Yeah.
Almost.
That was like some like example you'd read like in a 7th grade English like book on like writing descriptively.
Yeah. I like that review. And I read
Except it's about one missed call.
Except about one missed call. Yeah, and I agree with the reviewer. No one will be seeing this movie twice.
I certainly won't.
And I want to stress the point. I think I said earlier. About an hour into this movie, I felt like it had already been 2 hours. It felt so long. I don't know why.
I was watching this on my
because nothing was happening.
Well,
maybe it just felt. Oh my god!
I don't know what you guys. I watched this on my PS3. I considered at one point keeping the timer. Like you can keep the timer up on the bottom. How much more you have to do? I was checking it so often, I almost left it.
I actually do that just to fill you in on my movie viewing. I watch it on my computer, and I just the ticker's up anyway.
Yeah.
So
I considered it.
Yeah, that's horrendous.
So I can make time notes.
I think our next one we're gonna do this is the feature we like to call "So Wrong, It's Right." I'm going to ask the three guys here a trivia question related to this movie. The winner gets a say in what, not our next movie will be, but it gets a pick on a future movie. This is the trivia question. One Missed Call was nominated for 2 awards. They are not Razzies. These are not, so I'm going to take it away. Obviously, they're not Oscars. They're not Razzies. But this was nominated for 2 awards.
Legitimate, not like joke awards.
Legitimate award at a televised award show.
Oh my god!
This movie was up for 2 awards. Can anyone guess? I'm not even going to ask you what they were. You can either take a guess.
MTV Best Kiss.
Wait, yeah, take it. Just take a guess on what the award show was.
I think I would say the Spike TV horror awards.
I'm going to say MTV Movie Awards.
Brian,
is there such thing as sci-fi awards? I'll say sci-fi. Horror.
Those are all good awards. Those are all good choices.
Well,
we didn't have a winner. Right? Luckily, we have another. Luckily, we didn't have to have a winner in this one. Both I think everybody lost with this one. Ed Burns and Shannyn Sossamon were nominated for Best Choice Actor and Choice Actress at the Teen Choice Awards.
Teen Choice Awards. I was
the most legitimate of the awards.
Not even MTV was praising them for that. Yeah, they're known for that. They were.
Shannyn Sossamon, I could almost understand. I will say the one thing I will say in defense of this movie. Shannyn Sossamon is working in this movie. I mean, she is doing her best to sell this movie.
Yeah, she's certainly not doing a bad job.
She wasn't bad.
That's true. In a horrible, confusing disaster of a script.
She's the anchor.
Yeah, she is doing her best to hold together. Ed Burns is garbage in this movie.
I thought it was Margaret Cho.
Yeah, Margaret Cho is the worst in this movie.
Margaret Cho is the worst in this movie. Ed Burns is pretty terrible. I mean, everyone is really... It's really almost amazing how respectable... Like, I still respect Shannyn Sossamon after this movie, which, since I have no respect for the movie itself, it says something.
So you said you had another question?
No, that was it. That was our one. Okay. That was our one for this one.
So, stop the movie moments?
Boy, for me,
well, I already said mine is the cell phone deletion scene. Everybody delete my one voicemail. Just because that was,
For me, it was just, when we cut back to this party, I was so frustrated by that point that I didn't understand who anybody was. I'm like, are they dating? Are they brother and sister?
Right.
Like, I don't know this. I don't even know the main character's name.
I mean, they could have been brother and sister. I guess we can't rule that out.
It's
They
never
never
ruled
said.
out.
They never say one way or another.
Yeah, it's never.
It could be
ruled out.
cousins, coworkers, anything.
Yeah.
Something.
Ex-lovers. You just don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
My favorite. We didn't actually. I think we didn't talk about this. I wanted to bring this up, so I'll use this opportunity now. It's the second Margaret Cho scene when Ed Burns is trying to get protection for the girl, for Beth, because like 5 people have died in the past 5 days, and they still don't really seem all concerned about that. And they go. He's like, that girl needs some protection. And then the chief of police is like, what we need to focus on right now is catching the doer. And Edward Burns is like, well, you guys sure are doing a good job with that. It's like, you're the one doing the whole investigation. Why are you putting this on anyone else? He's the one like driving to the hospital and like looking through like files and everything. And he's like, well, you guys are sure doing a good job of catching this guy. It's like, it's your case.
Yeah. I noticed that too.
And then he goes back in the room. He's like, oh, no luck with them. Assholes.
Yeah. I love that.
Awesome.
Which also makes you think that he was never sanctioned to be working on this case in the
Well, which lends to our theory from earlier that he's not really a cop. He's just a weirdo, likes to hang around. I'm an actor researching a role. I'll solve your case for you,
It sounded like
baby.
he wasn't the lead detective on this case.
Yo, we should watch them again, because also notice when they find his cell phone at the scene, they find his cell phone. He's a cop. They put his cell phone into an evidence bag. He may not be a cop. He may not be a cop. I want to rewatch this movie. There is not definitive proof that he works for the police.
It's like a Sixth Sense scene. You go back and watch the scene, and you're like, oh yeah, no one else saw him. No one actually ever acknowledged that he was a
He's a guy impersonating a cop because he was trying to
He was
date
implanted.
Shannyn Sossamon.
He was an implanted bee worshiper from Summer's Isle.
Yeah. That's...
And Cody, what was
Yeah,
your
I think
stop?
mine was, like I said, that I hate it in movies when they do that, where they see someone on TV and then rush down to the studio. I hate that. So that was my...
It's really,
I stopped the movie.
We also have to figure, what channel? I mean, like, this would have been so better
Played on all
the
channels.
cable dial.
You're right.
Like, this wouldn't have been, like, on
They
a
don't do-
network.
yeah.
It's
They
on,
don't
it's
do-
on
they
the
don't
TV.
do-
It's on the
It's the
TV
first
guide
channel they
channel.
put on.
It's on the
Yeah.
TV guide
Let's
channel
see
in the
what
upper
on-
corner.
They don't
Let's see
do...
what's
They
on
don't...
Community Access Channel 46 right now. Oh, my friend's on.
They don't do live remotes of exorcisms on,
Yeah.
on television. I'm
Not
sorry.
yet, anyway.
Yeah.
Right. All right, let's jump right to the end. We'll do the, is it so bad, it's good.
No.
No.
No, I can't. I could never watch this again.
I was close. This was a close one for me.
I could watch the
up
last
until-
20 minutes again because that was kind of funny, like the whole like zombie makeout.
After
scene.
after the zombie
did.
makeout scene,
That-
it does
it really
get
took off after
funnier.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're really a big fan of bad movies, you might want to, only because the tail end of this movie is so bad it's good, but the beginning, the first like 40 minutes is just bad. And then it gets,
stupid.
then things go into ridiculous land and then get
But I did kind of like how the girl was looking for her pet cat under the water. That always, I'll remember that scene.
That's,
That was a cool scene.
Yeah.
Just because it's so ridiculous, I'll remember it.
Not a good movie.
Yeah. Any final thoughts? Anything anyone wants to share?
On this one.
We have a treat coming up in a couple of weeks. We are going to the top of the Mount Everest of bad movies. We are going to be taking on Jaws 4, sometimes known as the Michael Caine Jaws, the Jaws the Revenge, Jaws This Time It's Personal. We are really one of the ultimate bad movies of the modern era. We are taking it on. We're bringing a special guest, man around town, Tim Ferlito, will be joining us for this very special episode coming up in a couple of weeks. You are not going to want to miss that one. This is, even if you haven't seen Jaws 4, you know of Jaws 4.
It's legendary.
It is legendary. And we will be back soon with that. In the meantime, please like us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. Jack, what's your Twitter?
At Jack Estabrook, spelling on Facebook. There is... I tweet the movies as I watch them, so I will make sure I post the date as to when I'm going to be doing that, and I may actually have some of my friends join in on the fun. Watch the movie simultaneously and rip it with me on Twitter, live.
Well, I just hope you don't have trouble sleeping and your hormones aren't raging after you watch.
Well, this is what I do while those things are happening. I tweet bad movies.
we watch Jack's next tweets, and those are it.
my eyes
Trying
flew
desperately
open.
to get some shut eye. Can't do it.
Yeah.
The heart
shark's gonna
pounding,
jump out of the closet.
radio on, hormones raging.
I keep trying to get my bearings in the room.
But needless to say, unfortunately, I don't have the details. But sometime later this week, I will be tweeting live as I watch Jaws: The Revenge.
All right, very good.
At Jack Esper.
Palms sweaty.
Hashtag Jaws4.
Head spinning.
And again, like us on Facebook, Stop the Movie, I Want to Get Out on Facebook, or you can email us at comments@stopthemoviepodcast.com. Please give us a positive review on iTunes if you can.
Or if be honest, if you
Or-
really
yeah.
if you really hate us,
A review.
let us know.
If you really hate us,
true.
we'll have Uwe
That's-
Boll box you.
That's or I guess that's true. In the spirit of the show, you should give us an honest review. Don't just give us a positive review. Give us an honest review on iTunes. And that is it. Yeah, we will be back very soon with another episode. In the meantime,